Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our grade 4 coding class for today, 27th July 2020. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend and that you guys got to get out a little, even if you just went for a walk or just spent some time outside. I can just imagine how you guys must feel not being able to see friends and being stuck at home the whole time. And it's unfortunately the world we are living in right now, and even us teachers, we have to teach from home, and I don't even get to meet anybody. But at least we get to spend some time together and still learn some new things. So guys, for those of you that are joining us on YouTube or in class for the first time, my name is Mike Geldenhuys, and I just want to welcome you, and you guys are going to have a lot of fun with us. The last week or so, we've been dealing with functions with our zombie artist. Now, as you can see, we are currently on part 4. It is quite a difficult lesson, unfortunately, and that is why we are going through it quite slowly, just so that I can make sure that we are aware of everything and we don't just rush through it, and then once we get at the end, we don't really know how to work with functions. So that is why we are going through it quite slowly. It is right now, for the amount of work we are doing, the functions seem to be quite a lot because we only design one puzzle and we have to write functions just to finish that one puzzle. So it might seem like a lot of work for just one puzzle. But remember, we have to remember that this is laying the groundwork, and we would like to eventually, once we really get into coding, functions will be really helpful. And there's a lot about functions that would help us in the future. Okay, guys, so what I want to do is just quickly, you guys can just quickly look at our class rules. I just want to remind you guys, please, let's stick to content-specific information. Sometimes I miss some chats because I'm working on 2 different systems to show you guys code.org and then have Zoom available as well. So I do want to encourage that we stick to the lessons, and otherwise I might miss something. Okay, guys, and I do just want to mention as well, if any learners are disruptive, they will unfortunately be removed. Okay, guys, so let's quickly look at what our objectives are. It is to recognize when a function could help to simplify a program and to use predetermined functions to complete commonly repeated tasks. Okay, so that just gives us a nice idea of what we will be doing today. And then here we have our purpose. This lesson is meant to further push us to use functions in more creative ways by also using conditionals and loops. We will learn there are many ways to approach a problem, but some are more efficient than others. And then also to improve our problem solving and critical thinking skills. What is a condition? Because we are going to deal with quite a few conditions. It's a statement that a program checks to see if it is true or false. If it is true, an action is taken. Otherwise, that action is ignored. Okay, we have dealt with that quite a bit. And as they come up, then we will just talk about them as well. This is just a bit of background, so you guys just can keep it in the back of your mind. Loops we have dealt with quite a bit. And we just have to remember here that we do have different kinds of loops, while loops, until loops, and just our standard repeats where we assign a value to how many times something needs to be done. And then our functions, this is the ones that we are currently busy with, that we are writing ourselves, a piece of code that you can easily recall over and over again. And then just a quick review of what is a pixel. Every picture is made up of a certain number of pixels, and our play area in code.org has 400 by 400 pixels. So if we look at the block we have, jump to 200 over, that is from left to right, 200 down, that is from top to bottom. Okay, so just keep that in mind as well. I have noticed you guys are starting to really understand the concept of pixels and the over, down concept. So I just wanted to throw that in so that just to refresh everybody's minds about what pixels are. Okay. Then if you give me a moment, I am going to go through to code.org and then I'll share the link with you. I'm just quickly showing you guys. Remember, left to right is over and top to bottom is down. Okay. Let me switch screens and then I'll share the link with you. Okay, there we go. This is where we stopped on Friday. And I said, I want to see how many of you were able to write this code. Use everything we've learned so far to recreate this design. Okay, it was quite a difficult design because we had to write 3 different functions for this design. So we are going to have to do it again because if we go to our functions, they took away all our functions we've created because they wanted to see if we could actually recreate our designs, okay, or our functions. Okay, so what we are going to do, remember we have to go through it step by step again and create our own functions to solve this. Now, if we can remember correctly, if we look at this puzzle, we can see within our puzzle here, we have a lot of squares, okay? So the first thing we might have to do is write a function to draw 1 square. And then we saw that we had 3 squares in a row. So we wrote a function to draw 3 squares in a row. And then we saw a pattern repeating itself. We've got these 2 rows that they called staggered squares or staggered blocks that we also wrote a function for. So those were the 4 or the 3 functions we had to write to actually complete this puzzle, because once we get to the staggered blocks, then we could have repeated 3 times. And I see Anesu said, unfortunately, wasn't able to complete that, but that's okay. That is why we're going to look at it today. This is a very difficult lesson, guys, and don't get discouraged if you can't solve it right now. So just to encourage you guys as well, even the grade 9, 10s, or 10s, 11s, 12s do the same puzzles. So you guys are doing really, really, really well. Okay, so don't be discouraged. Keep trying, keep coming back, keep learning, and you will see eventually. It's like riding a bike. Once, the first couple of times, it's really difficult. But once you get the hang of it, you will see it starts getting easier. Okay, so our first step would be to create a function to write a square. I'm going to do that one just as an example, then maybe somebody else can write the function for us for a line of squares and then the staggered squares. So remember, what do we do if we want to create a function, something we can recall over and over again? We have to go to our functions and select do something. Okay, this is a function that doesn't affect our workspace, so it can be in our workspace. We're going to keep it here so we can see what it is all about. So the first one, I did not, sorry, yes, Anissa, I'm going to share the link again, sorry. If you go to the link and I'm posting right now, you won't need a pin, so you can just go there directly. Okay, guys. So the first function I'm going to write is just one square, just one little square over here. So I can name this function square. Now I know that how am I going to do a square? I'm going to move forward. I'm going to turn 90 degrees. And then I'm going to move forward. I'm going to just do that 4 times. Okay, 4 sides to the square. So what am I going to do? I'm going to my actions. I'm going to move forward by 100 and I'm going to turn by 90 degrees. And that I will just repeat. So I'm going to go to my loops. There we go, repeat 4 times. And I'll repeat all that 4 times. So now we've got our first step done. We are going to draw one square. And you remember, you can run it to check to see if your code works. Oh, sorry guys, I just have to put it in. Remember, if it's here in the function block, it won't do anything because it's not in our code yet. It's not here. We have now created the function. Now we still have to go and select our function. So we go back to functions and then you will see, there we go, square. Our new function is available for us to use. So we've created a new block. Then I can just drop it in there. And if I reset and run, okay, so I see, I couldn't remember the sizes. Now I can see my sizes are way wrong. And again, what I always do, I never change the turn options, the drop-down arrow. I always forget to change the things. So let's go. I don't want to turn right. I want to turn left. And my size is smaller. It's not 100. I have to change that to 50. We have to try and remember now all the dimensions and the lengths of the things that they gave us on Friday. So 50, because I can see now over here, the space from here to here is the same. So I know that this line needs to be cut in half. So 50 should work. So let's quickly reset and run. Perfect. There we go. We've got our function for one square. Now we want to write a function for 3 squares in a row. We want to write a function for 3 squares in a row. And then I think Zoe's got her hand up. She's going to help us with that function. So let's quickly go to Zoe.
Hello, Sam.
Hi, Zoe. How are you?
Fine, thanks. And you, Sam?
I'm good. Thank you. So Zoe, are you going to help us with this second function?
Yes, Sam.
Okay, great. So what are we going to do, Zoe?
So, you're going to go to functions and then you're going to get the block that says do something.
Do something. Okay, so now we are going to write a function. And what are we going to call this function, Zoe?
Staggered squares.
Remember, we want the line first before we go to staggered. We just want the 3 squares in a row, okay? So what are we going to call this one? Let's say line of
Squares.
Okay. Line of squares. There we go. So how are we going to draw a line of squares?
First, you're going to move forward by 50 pixels.
Okay. Remember, I just want to remind you something about something quickly. We have created a function to draw one square. So we don't have to draw the first square again. What do we do if we just want to draw a square?
You just use the same function and repeat it 3 times.
Beautiful. Now, so for this function, we are not going to write the code for the square again. We are going to go to functions and we're going to select square. And then what are we going to do?
Go to loops and take a repeat and put in the number 3 times.
Okay. There's just one thing you have to remember right now, because with this function as it is right now, it is just going to draw the same square 3 times. We can run it and we can quickly check. Let's take away this square. There's one thing we have to change. Yes.
Before we have to change the function, may you please resend the link because I accidentally got out of the meeting.
No problem. Let me quickly copy that. Paste. There we go. The link is inside the chat box again. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Now, guys, here we go. Yes, we want 3 squares. We're going to repeat because we're just going to use the function we already wrote. Like we said, of square. We're going to put it in repeat 3 times. But there's just one thing that we have to do because otherwise we're going to stay on the same spot. We want it in a line. So what do we have to do after we draw one square? So we draw one square and then what are we going to do?
After drawing one square, you have to jump forward.
There we go. Beautiful. We have to jump forward. Okay. And then after we've jumped forward by 100, then it's just going to repeat itself. So let's quickly, thank you, Zoe. I'm going to run your code and we will see what happens. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Zoe. Okay, guys, beautiful. Look at that. All we need to do, now we don't have to go and draw 3 squares. We've already got the function. We are going to just repeat it 3 times. But after we've drawn the first one, we're going to jump this 50. That is the size of the square. Jump this space. And then we're going to draw the second and the third square. So let's reset Zoe's code. Let's run it and see what happens. Oh, sorry, guys. I forgot again. Just because we wrote the square, it's not in our code yet. We have to go back to our functions and select our new code, line of squares. Let's reset and run. There's 1 square, we jump, 2 squares, 3 squares. Perfect. Now that is working out great. So we've got 2 functions down. Now we just have to write 1 more function. Okay, and that function, I wonder if there's anybody that wants to help us write the staggered blocks, because now we have to draw the top 3 and the bottom 3 squares in 1 function. Staggered squares. Is there anybody that wants to help me write the staggered squares? Okay, I'm going to carry on in the meantime until somebody maybe wants to help me out there. I don't see any new hands that has gone up, but that's okay, guys. So what do? Look at where our zombie is. Our zombie is standing in that position right now. So for staggered squares, what do we have to do first? We have to go and create a new function. So we go back to our functions, do something. Let's drag it out here. What do I want to do? I want to draw staggered squares. And what are staggered squares? It's just two lines of squares. So we've got squares. Each square or each line has got 3 squares. And then staggered squares will be 2 lines of 3 squares on top of each other. So let's call it staggered squares. Just want to type it in here. Staggered squares. And remember, you can call it anything you want. You can call it stacked squares. You can name it anything you want, as long as you remember what your function does. Okay, so staggered squares. Now, if we want to do staggered squares, remember, I can just repeat my line function because there are 3 blocks going back. The only thing is I just have to turn to face the right direction before I can actually draw my staggered squares. Okay, so how am I going to draw my staggered squares? First, I'm going to draw a line. So I'm just going to put my line of squares inside. What do I do then? If I get here, I just have to turn. Turn around to face the other direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my actions. I'm going to turn around. And remember, if you want to turn around, what do you have to do? You have to turn by, it doesn't matter then if we turn left or right. It's the same thing. We have to turn around by 180 degrees to face the other direction. Otherwise, you could have put in 2, turn left, or turn right by 90 degrees. So that is our staggered squares. Let's just quickly see if that works. Oh, guys, I've only got 1 line. So what do I have to do? My staggered squares, I have to loop my line of squares 2 times. I have to loop my line of squares 2 times. And let's quickly check to see if that works. I go back to my functions because remember, every time you click on do something, we create a new function. Let's go to functions. There we go. We've got a line of squares, square, staggered squares. Now I want to run my staggered squares and see if that works. Okay, so this is still my line of squares now. Staggered squares, let's see, there we go. Perfect, look at that. It is working well. And I didn't have to repeat it 4 times. And that is why it's running over and over. I just needed to do it 2 times because my staggered squares were only 2 lines of squares. So again, I have to remind myself to change the values. Let's run it. I'm going to make it a little faster. Beautiful. Look at that. There we go. We've got our staggered squares. Now, if we look at this code, we can see that this pattern repeats itself over here, and it repeats itself over here. Okay, so now what are we going to do? Okay, the first thing is we just have to find ourselves on that next step, that next level. So how are we going to get to that level? Okay, so let's quickly look at this. Here I am Here's my staggered squares. I can see that I have 3 sets of staggered squares. And remember, we can even write a function for block of staggered squares where we're going to repeat this, but I don't think we'll go that far. How am I going to draw this? I can repeat all of that now 3 times. The only thing here now is I have to, let's quickly see, I've got a hand up. Zoe. Hi, Zoe.
Hi, Sam.
Okay, are you going to try and help us with this one?
Yes, Sam.
Okay, yes, Zoe.
So, sir, you need to repeat it 3 times.
There we go. I'm going to repeat that 3 times, and I have to remember just to change this. Repeat 3 times, yes. And then what do we have to do to get from there, where I'm standing right now, to this point over here? Because then it will be the exact same thing over and over. I just have to move from there to there. How am I going to do that, Zoe?
You have to...
Which way am I facing right now? I'm facing this way. If I want to move, I need to face down. So how am I going to face downward?
You're going to turn right.
I'm going to turn right. And how much am I going to turn by?
100 pixels.
Remember, first we're going to turn. By how much am I going to turn? Degrees. How many degrees am I going to turn? If I'm facing right, but I want to look down.
Going to turn by 90 degrees.
Turn by 90 degrees. Wonderful. Yes. Okay. And then if I want to move from there to there, how am I going to do that?
You're going to turn right.
Okay. I've turned, yes. And then how am I going to get down here?
And then you have to jump forward.
Jump. And remember, we are going to jump because if we jump, we don't draw a line. There we go. We're going to jump forward. And then what are we going to do? Just one more step.
And then we're going to do it staggered squares again.
Just remember, now I'm facing in the wrong direction. I have to just turn one more time. So which way am I going to turn?
Left.
There we go. Beautiful. Yes. So then I am just going to turn left again to face the right direction, because otherwise I'm going to take out the left quickly. I'm going to run it and you'll see, just because we have to remember which direction we face in. So let's do the first one. There we go. The line, the staggered squares, we jump, but then because we face the wrong direction, our staggered squares goes to the other side. So we just have to remember to turn first. And then there we go. Let's see. There's the important part. We turned left, and then look at that. I'm going to run it quite fast. Perfect. Look at that. Our code ran all the way through, and we drew a block of staggered squares. Well done. Thank you, Zoe.
You're welcome.
In this case,
okay, guys, yes. So now you get the idea. We just take it step by step. Then it isn't that difficult. Then if we go first we do the block, then we do the line, then we do the staggered squares, and we just put them all together. And we just have to remember to always put our characters so that they can face the right direction. And now here we have a challenge puzzle, and they are quite hard sometimes, but I'm sure we will be able to figure it out. And look at that. How cool is that? That seems like quite an interesting puzzle. So let's remember, the first thing we always do is we check our instructions. They will give us some clues of what to do. The first thing I can see here, it's a bunch of triangles. Let's see, create this image using the limited blocks provided. Each triangle has sides of 50 pixels. To draw a diamond, you will need to alternate between turning 60 degrees and 120 degrees. Now we can see here, if you know the degrees, these two are bigger turns than these two. These are small turns and these are big turns. Okay, so we know that once we get to the edges, we are going to turn either 60 degrees or 120 degrees. Okay, so that's okay. So let's quickly see. Now, the first thing, what's going to be the first thing we do? I think the first thing we are going to try and do is just to write the code for one triangle. So we're going to write the code just for one triangle. And we know that a triangle has 3 sides. So let's quickly see, wow, how long is one side? 50 pixels. So let's quickly write our function for one triangle, and we can call it triangle, just one. And how are we going to do that? We're going to loop, because we have 3 sides. It's the same as a square. A square, we had 4 sides. Triangle, we had 3 sides. How are we going to do that? We are going to move forward. And I see, I just want to send the link again quickly. Sorry guys, I just want to open my chat box again. There we go. So guys, how are we going to draw a triangle? If we look at this, we're going to move forward, and then which way are we going to turn? Let me see in the chat box quickly. If I draw this first triangle, which way am I going to turn? Am I going to turn left or am I going to turn right? Am I going to turn left or am I going to turn right? I want to come down, so I want to turn right. Now I just have to decide, is this going to be a 60-degree turn or is this going to be a 120-degree turn? Now remember, I know that 180 is if I turn around. So 60 will just be down here. So this one almost going backwards is going to be a 120-degree turn. There we go. You can see the little block down here. It shows us which way he's going to turn. So we are going to turn right by 120 degrees. We can run it just to double check. Whoops, see, I forgot again. I need to put my function that I created. There we go, reset and run. Now I see, oops, again, I didn't change my pixels. That is too big. So let's change that to 50, reset, and I always forget to change the things. I don't know how many of you forget to change, but I like to draw in the blocks and then I just forget to change the stuff. There we go. There's our first triangle. We've got our first triangle. So that's a good start. Now, if we look at this, we see that each line has, if we look at this, there's one triangle, 2, 3, 4 in this one, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 in this one. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So each line has 4 triangles. So let's write a line of triangles. So let's go back to our functions, do something, and we're going to write line of triangles. Line of triangles. How many triangles do we have in a line? We have 4. So we are going to repeat our code 4 times. Repeat 4 times, 4 triangles. How are we going to do that? We're going to put a triangle inside. And remember, I just want to go from here to here. We know that that is 50. So I'm just going to jump forward by 50. Jump forward by 50. And I think that that is all that I need to do to draw my first line. I just have to remember to go and get my function, line of triangles. Let's reset and run. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. So look at that. I've got my line of triangles done. Okay, now I want to draw a diamond of triangles. Maybe we can call that, or a kite, or I'm not sure what we want to call that one. Or we don't even need a new function. We can just use that over and over. So I suggest what we do is we draw the line and we turn and we draw a line. So maybe we can finish this code just by using these two functions. We're not going to create a whole diamond because we don't need, only if the next puzzle, if we're going to use more diamonds, then we can create a function for that. But I think with this, we can create this function. So what are we going to do if we want to come this way? How far am I going to turn to come down? So I think I'm going to draw a line of triangles, and then I am going to turn right, and I want to see quickly, you can tell me, am I going to turn 60 or 120 degrees? Can anybody tell me 60 or 120? Look at this line over here. Am I going to turn 60 or 120? And if you're not sure, look at this little picture down here. If I turn 60, that's what's going to look like. If I turn 120, that's what it's going to look like. There we go. And Zivan says we are going to turn 60 degrees. Turn 60 degrees. And then what are we going to do? We're just going to draw another line. There we go. So let's go to our functions, line of triangles. Let's run it. Look at that. Already 2 lines of triangles. Now I can see that this side and this side is the same as this side and this side. So I can repeat everything that I've already done 2 times. I just have to make sure that my little zombie turns first and faces in the right direction. So let's quickly see. My little zombie is just going to turn. And remember, he's facing down this way. He's walking in this direction. And we know that 90 degrees will be here. So now we are going to turn right by 120. Turn right by 120. And then we're going to repeat everything 2 times. Reset and run. So we've got 2 functions that are running at the same time. There we go. That's the end of it. Now I'm just going to repeat everything. I've turned, and there we go. I'm repeating my code again. There we go. All the way through. We've done it. We drew a diamond of triangles. And remember, if you want to play around a little bit, let me just go back there quickly. I was too slow to reset. This pattern is getting so out of hand. It is like crazy. Okay, so remember, if you want to play around a little bit, you can go to your brushes. We can set some colors. Maybe I want those ones to be red. And let me go to brushes again. Let me put another one in here. The next one, I want a different color. So let's change that to blue. Let's run it. There we go. Just to change the colors a little bit. Remember, you can play around with it. And then I'm going to have a red one again. And then a blue one. There we go. Awesome. And Anessa said green. Okay, so I hope you made yours green, Anesu. Okay, guys. So I know that this level is taking us a long time to get through, and we've already run out of time again. So I just want to see quickly in this one. Oh, look at that. If you guys will be able to solve this. Remember what we do, go step by step. This time use lines of 8 hexagons with 25 pixels. Now it looks like triangles in here, but they are all hexagons drawn over each other, okay? Hexagon over hexagon. Jump 25 pixels between hexagons, and then to draw a diamond, you will need to alternate between turning 60 degrees and 120 degrees. So guys, it will be the exact same thing that we just did. You are going to draw 2 functions. One you can call hexagon, and the other one you can call line of hexagons, okay? So one hexagon and the other one line of hexagons. So I'm going to help you with just the hexagon quickly. So remember, functions, do something. We're going to call it, I'm just going to call it hexagon. What are we going to do? We are going to move forward. And remember, each side is only 25 pixels long. We are going to turn by 60 degrees. Turn 60 degrees. And we're going to repeat that 6 times. So there you go. I've helped you with your hexagon. Let's run it quickly. Remember, I have to put my function inside hexagon, reset and run. There we go. That's your first step. That's your hexagon. That is what this picture is made up of, just hexagons. So now I want you guys to go and write the function for line of hexagons. And remember, how many hexagons are there in that line? 8. 8 hexagons. So go and write the function for me for line of hexagons and see if you can do this picture. And if you are able to solve it, please send it to me. I would love to see who can solve this. But then, guys, that is our time again for today. I loved spending time with you, and thank you so much for joining us. Remember, if you want to send me your homework puzzle, and for those of you that still want to send me your assessment, here's my email address, mgeldenes81@gmail.com. And then I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Same time, same place.